Soul Simmers, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today's video is a really exciting one. Actually, it is a much requested one. So many people asked me on my video about business and hobbies ideas to make a similar video for the brand new custom venues and getaway feature that comes with Adventure Awaits. So of course I couldn't slack and I decided to start making a list, gathering all the ideas that I would see on social media, that I had myself, that people in my Twitch chat suggested, and I have compiled a list for over 75 ideas for getaways and custom venues that you can build if you get the new expansion pack Adventure Awaits. Just a little practical request, if you do end up buying the pack, feel free to use my creator code Rosannatxt to support my content, and with that being said, let's actually start with our list for today. For the sake of this video, I'm going to combine custom venues and getaways because the scheduling feature is very similar. Some ideas might be better suited for getaways, some ideas might be better suited for custom venues, and some ideas might be perfectly suited for both. It is kind of up to you and how you approach the gameplay for that specific idea on which one would be a better pick. If you're interested in a full in-depth tutorial on how to use these features, I have actually made a video on my channel and I'll make sure to link it in the description box down below. Considering there are so many ideas, I've actually categorized the ideas a little bit so that you can also kind of skip through the video for themes that you might be looking for. Let's actually start with our first category, and that is educational or skill-based custom venues or getaways. The first idea is a dance academy, which is basically a place where Sims can either go for a couple of nights or a place that Sims can visit to work on their dance skill. We can use many items like dance floors or the Roomba classes on the TV to set up something that works with this idea. The second one is one that I feel like so many people have talked about, and that is a boarding school, a place where you can send your kids for multiple nights where they would actually work on their different skills and go to classes. The third idea, somewhat similar to the boarding school, is a summer school. If you want your kids to go to sort of like a summer camp, but specifically aimed at maybe learning certain skills, a summer school could be super fun for your kids in game. Next up, we have an acting boot camp. This can be super fun if you're trying to have a sim become really famous or if you're trying to have a sim become an actor. And that way your sim can go on a getaway to basically work on their acting skill, maybe their charisma skill. They can work on scripts and things with other actors. So you can basically use all the activities that come with acting, but just make it a really high intense boot camp for your sims to follow. The next idea is a music conservatory. So this is either a custom venue that your sims can visit, or it can be a full getaway, like sort of like a musical camp, where your sims can go to practice anything music in the game. Following that, we have a cooking school. Obviously, we also have the cooking competition where sims will get eliminated based on what they've made. But obviously, you can also have maybe like a cooking studio set up where sims don't just go to compete, but they also go to actually learn. You could even use the same venue and first host a cooking bootcamp and then host a cooking competition right after with the same set of sims. Another super fun idea could be like a study abroad getaway or custom venue where you basically build some sort of like a school building or a skill building in another Sims world. And then if you're living with your sim in a specific world, you can actually travel to another world for a couple of days and have them study abroad. Another good idea is a STEM camp or a STEM school where you can focus on basically anything science for your sims. You can have things like the robotics station, programming, science fair days, and all kinds of things that you can come up with. Another one logically following that is a space camp. I feel like a space camp would be super fun, especially if you're playing the Not So Berry challenge for the second generation, because I always feel like it's so highly unrealistic for your sims to have a rocket in their own backyard. But if you only use the GeekCon festival, it is such a limited time frame to actually build the rocket. So I love the idea that your sims can go to space camp and actually build a rocket together with other kids at space camp. This isn't exclusive for your kids though, because adult sims can obviously also go to like a space conference or something. And then lastly in this category, we have a reading or a writing retreat. I feel like this can be super helpful if you have a sim that's a freelance writer. They can actually go on a little retreat where they can also spend a lot of time reading. They can spend a lot of time rejuvenating their creative batteries, stuff like that. And I feel like it's such a realistic thing because people do this IRL all the time. The next category is the sports or outdoor section. So we're starting off with something that immediately came to mind when I heard about this feature, and that is a ski resort. Like you can basically build a custom venue in Mount Komorebi where your sims can then go to do skiing, potentially rock climbing, hiking, stuff like that. I feel like you can basically make it a proper destination world that way. The second option is one that I've heard everyone talk about, and that is building a horse camp. You can obviously have like a nice ranch that your sims can visit, but this way your kids can go on a horse riding camp and actually build their horse riding skill. The third one is a surf camp. Obviously surfing is not really an activity in the game, but you could pretend that your sims go to Solani for a surf camp where they're like sailing the boats and they're kayaking and they're swimming and they're diving and snorkeling and basically doing all the things that are affiliated or associated with surfing. Although it would be great if they were surfing. So if you have a mod that allows your sims to surf, I don't know if that exists, but you could use it, of course. But I like the idea of your Sims going on like a very beachy camp. Related to that, if you're not really into the surfing idea, you could go on like an ocean explore retreat. So that would involve Sims also like walking down the beaches and collecting shells and I don't know, just basically everything that any beach world has to offer in the game. I feel like you could definitely do some interesting storytelling with that. You can even sort of transform that idea from a ocean exploration to maybe like a lake exploration or a nature exploration, but anything that allows your Sims to participate in outdoor activities that are not necessarily directly sports related. Then I already talked a little bit about the rock climbing if you can incorporate it into the ski resort. You can obviously also make a separate rock climbing camp where you can also use the rock climbing walls that come with that fitness stuff pack and where your Sims can basically like prepare for a big hike and then on the last day you could conclude it by them actually going rock climbing. Another one is something like a soccer or a basketball academy. We do have the soccer game in the game with high school years or like a soccer ball that your Sims can actually practice with. And we have the basketball court, I believe in City Living. Don't pin me down what something comes from, like which pack, because at this point I can't remember it all anymore. But I feel like we do have plenty of like more traditional sports, quote unquote, in the game. And you could obviously make a boot camp or a camp for that as well. You could even set it up as like a basketball court or a soccer field that your Sims can travel to and visit and then just practice there. It doesn't even have to be a camp, but if it's a custom venue where like other Sims will spawn in and they will automatically get assigned the role to also practice football, you could even make a custom venue where every single Tuesday night in game, your Sims will actually go to soccer practice and then will go on a getaway to an actual soccer field where they can practice football, something like that. Then next up, a fishing lodge or like a fishing camp or anything that your Sims can visit to practice the fishing skill could be super cute. I feel like the fact that you can fish anywhere or almost anywhere in the world at this point in The Sims sometimes makes the fishing skill almost feel too easy. So the idea of making a dedicated location for it, I actually like that a lot. Obviously, one of the things that was already teased in the trailer of this pack was somewhat of like a survivalist game, but you can obviously also make a survivalist camp. Maybe this can be for people that like to do those extreme survivalist runs or mud runs or something. You could obviously make something similar in The Sims where the primary goal for your Sims is to work on their fitness skill, but you kind of built this like super cool survivor camp setting. Another idea in this category is an Olympics or sports arena, basically like a big arena where Sims can compete in any type of sport. You can use the elimination rules to actually set it up so that Sims that don't build any fitness skill fast enough will get eliminated. And you can pretend to have like an Olympics event in your game. And then lastly in this category is a military boot camp. We do have the military career if you have Strangerville, but the idea that your Sim actually has to go into a military boot camp or military training before they can actually join that career makes so much sense. And I think it would be a really cool thing to build in the game. Then our next category is the creative and artsy category, and it actually has 5 different ideas. So the first one is a film festival lot. Obviously, we have screens where your Sims can watch movies together, but the idea that your Sims can actually maybe go somewhere where there's different movies playing and they can decide which one they want to watch, and there's like the popcorn machines, and maybe it can be like on a beach or maybe it can be outdoors or indoors. Like it's kind of up to you in the end. I would say this is slightly different from, for instance, like a movie theater because that would have a very specific look to it. I think this would definitely be one of those more like creative small festivals. Then the second idea is like a Comic Con or a cosplay con. It can be like a place where your Sims can travel to and everyone has to wear a costume when they show up at the lot. It can be a place where Sims can play like Void Critters on the retro gaming machines that come with the new pack. I feel like you can definitely come up with something really cool for your Sims to go to like a nerdy con. Then the next one is a photography expedition. Obviously, we do have the photography skill in the game. We even have, if you have the Moschino stuff pack, have like the entire photography studio. So you could make like a big photography expo where people can come to build their photography skill, to look at pictures from other photographers, and maybe it's a place where like Sims also show up as models and stuff like that. Then the next one is very tied to something that came with businesses and hobbies, and that is a pottery studio. Obviously, you can build a pottery studio from the perspective of actually using it as like a business owner and then teaching classes, but you can also reverse that and make it into a custom venue that your Sims can then travel to actually like participate in classes, or maybe not even in classes, but you can make it like a artsy and crafty retreat. And then lastly, in this category is the Fashion Week venue. I like the idea of the whole like TV show sort of vibe, but also I know that we have the style influencer career, and I guess you can do stuff with that and storytelling to sort of make like a Fashion Week venue that your Sims can then travel to for like a work event or something. The next category is all the occults or like more fantasy type lots, because obviously we cannot forget those with this specific feature. The first one would be like a witch coven for witches to come together and practice their skills, maybe even in secret. Like it can be like a secret society or a secret club that witches can join and then travel to. The next one is a haunted asylum with like the haunted house trait in The Sims. You can make like a custom venue that is also haunted, and that way when your Sims go there, they can practice like any paranormal skills, or it can just be like a cool thing that they can visit on I don't know, maybe like a Halloween celebration in game. The third idea is something like a mermaid lagoon. I feel like mermaids are, I don't know, they definitely got the short end of the straw as the occults in this game, and I think they deserve some love. So potentially actually making a custom venue where only mermaids hang out, for like it's a place for them to meet, maybe, I don't know, practice any like mermaid rituals or whatever you can come up with. But I think they deserve some love, and a custom venue might just be the way to do that. Next up, a werewolf pack den. Obviously you can already make like werewolf hangouts and stuff, but I feel like with a custom venue you can get even more specific about like the schedule that werewolves are supposed to follow. It could also be really cute if you make like a werewolf Sims camp where the kids from werewolves, like if you have werewolves families, they can go and like learn how to, I don't know, control their werewolf, the wolf in them when they are already a kid. Like, I feel like that can be such a cute thing for storytelling for sure. Then the concept of an alien embassy, like the idea that aliens have a space in the Sims world where they sort of come together to think about their like, I don't know, bad, like evil plans to conquer the Sims world, or not. Maybe they come in peace, maybe they're trying to be friendly, but I feel like aliens are such a hilarious occult type in this game, and I don't play with them enough, but I feel like if you make a custom venue for them where they sort of all come together and, I don't know, maybe work on specific things, that could be super fun for storytelling as well. You could even make it an actual spaceship so that the aliens in the world have a place to go to when they're not in the world. And the last one would be a vampire academy. I think with storytelling, there is so much opportunity here. We all know all the many different TV shows about vampire academies or vampires in high school, and we can finally reenact that in The Sims properly. Then our next category is wellness and lifestyle. So the first most obvious one that I've heard so many people talk about is a yoga or a meditation retreat. This would be perfect to build in the world of Tamarang, for instance, that obviously has a lot of resemblance to things like Singapore and Thailand, which are very infamous places for people to travel to actually, you know, go on some sort of like a wellness retreat, like a yoga or meditation retreat. And I feel like that would be perfect for that world. Taking that to like a bit more of a general level, we are talking about a spa resort. So that would be our next idea. I think a spa resort can actually be placed in any world, and you can just use things from like a gym and the spa day pack and, I don't know, anything else that you think would fit in a spa resort. I think the smoothies are perfect for this, but just a place for your Sims to visit for a couple of days to completely rest and recharge. Next up, we can kind of take that same idea but make it a bit more specific to the world of Mount Komorebi. We can make a hot spring resort or like a hot spring retreat. We already have the onsen bathhouse type, but I feel like if you make it a custom venue and you actually set up a schedule for it, you can maybe have Sims like in the morning all cook together, or have like more rituals and have it be like more intentional than Sims just kind of hanging out in a warm bath. Then something that I really like is a digital detox camp. So that would be like a place where your Sims cannot use a computer at all, and you can have like all kinds of offline hobbies like paper crafting or knitting or reading, and you can really make it like a space that looks very zen and peaceful, that is really supposed to like have your Sims have like a digital detox. And then the last one in this category is the retirement getaway. The retirement getaway would be perfect for elder Sims that just simply want to get away and meet like people of their own age, to make new friendships, to, you know, practice hobbies together. You could even transform this into an entire retirement home, but just a space for elderly Sims to get together and like have a nice space to hang out together would be super cool. Then our next category is basically community or social, and it actually consists of 9 ideas. The first one being a farm stay. This can basically be a place where your Sims can go to take care of different animals that we have in the game at this point. We have cows, we have llamas, we have mini sheeps and goats, we have birds, we have bees. There is so much in this game that you can actually take care of that it would be super cute for your Sims to have a farm stay where they actively need to do gardening, take care of the animals, and basically just live off the land. Then the next idea can be sort of linked to that, which is a cooking retreat, specifically the idea of farm to table. Like you could technically make a custom venue with the simple living trait, meaning that Sims can only cook things if they have all the ingredients, which I think would be super cute for like an idea of your Sims living like a more simple life, maybe another idea for them to unplug for a little bit, and then they can actually go on like a farm to table kind of cooking style retreat. If you don't like the farm to table idea, you can obviously do like maybe like a baking retreat or just a gourmet cooking retreat for Sims that have already maxed out the regular cooking skill but are looking to upgrade their cooking skill even further. Another one is a parent-child camp. I really like the idea because I feel like in this game we very often split up the age groups of like, oh, we have things for adults to do or we have things for kids to do. But if you make a parent-child camp, that could actually be a family thing for parents to go on a camp with their child, or like a mom or a dad to go on camp with their child. And that way it can be like a super cute bonding experience for them. With seasons, we do obviously have the scouts in game, so it's a thing that your Sims can go to every weekend. But if you wanted to make that more interactive, you could technically build a scouts custom venue or scouts getaway and then schedule it every single week in your Sims calendar. And then your Sim can actually go to scouts every Saturday and have like a set schedule to follow. Another one that is great for not necessarily community, but definitely for the social of your skills is maybe like a woohoo festival or like a singles and mingles speed dating kind of lot. Basically a place where only single Sims will show up, and the primary goal is to meet other Sims, to socialize, to connect, to get to know each other, and potentially find the love of your life. Another one, if you've already found the love of your life but things are not going super well, is a couples retreat. Maybe like a couples therapy retreat. It can be a place where only married Sims are allowed to go to, and they can have all kinds of activities that come with things like Love Struck, like the romantic counseling, or for instance, activities like flirting or woohooing can be encouraged, and we can make sure that the space is like set up for couples to kind of rekindle their love for each other. Another one that is somewhat related to that is a bachelor or bachelorette weekend venue or custom venue or getaway. Basically, if your Sim is going to get married, you can schedule a getaway that involves all kinds of things that one would do on a bachelorette or a bachelor party. This can be maybe like a neighborhood brawl type of thing. This can be a thing where your Sims go do karaoke. Like there is so many fun options, and you can just build a custom venue or schedule a getaway for your Sims to celebrate this now rather than use the event function in the calendar. Next up could be a women's vacation retreat. So this could be like a women only vacation where only women are allowed to spawn, and then basically from there it can be like a thing where they, I don't know, do whatever. It's up to you. It can be like a female empowering retreat where they work on like all of their fitness skills and, you know, they talk through important topics, or it can be like a spa retreat where they just get like completely pampered. Obviously, you can also flip this around and make a men's vacation retreat. It's completely up to you, but just the idea of having those things because they exist in real life would be really cool to have in the game as well now. And then lastly in this category, we have the business conference. That sounds like a somewhat boring one maybe, but I can totally see myself using this. If you have a Sim in a specific career, and in that career they need to work on a certain skill or they need to do a certain activity, and it's just something that you don't want to have in your house, like building a rocket, you can build like a business conference. You could even, if you wanted to, build like a big event center with bigger hallways, and then every single time you want to host a specific getaway, like a business conference, you can sort of give that space a makeover to fit your actual space, just like actual event venues. With that, we have concluded the community or social category, so then we're moving on to the entertainment category, and this has 10 ideas in it. So the first one would be an escape room venue. For this one, you would definitely need a little bit of your own imagination, but I can imagine that you would build like a venue with different rooms, and then the doors in between the rooms would be locked, and you would set a threshold for yourself that your Sim can only move on to the next room if they get to logic level 2, for instance, which is like, oh, they fixed the puzzle, or like they solved the puzzle in the first room because they've completed that skill level. And then maybe the next one, they need to reach fitness level 2, and kind of like that. So you control if your Sims get to move on to the next room, and then it will be up to you to complete all the rooms before the getaway is over. The next one would be something like a carnival or a fun fair. You can use decorative items from things like High School Years, where we have the Ferris wheel and stuff. I think if you place them from debug, you might even be able to use them. Don't pin me down on this, I'm not entirely sure, but you can have things like food festivals. You can use things from the festivals from City Living as inspiration as well, but I just feel like it could be a super cute idea to make your own personal carnival or fun fair. The next one would be a haunted theme park. Obviously, we don't really have like any rides or something in the game, apart from that haunted house that comes with high school years as well. And I believe if you place it from debug that your sim can at least interact with it. But I like the idea of your sims maybe going to a place that is haunted and that has like all the paranormal tables, and just the idea that your sims can visit a specific spot if they are into like horror and stuff like that. Something that is a bunch more wholesome is something like a zoo or a petting zoo, a place where your sims can go to interact with animals. We earlier talked about a farm stay. That would really be like a getaway idea, like your sim would actively go on sort of like a farm stay vacation. I feel like a petting zoo is definitely more like a custom venue where your sims can go every once in a while, and when they go there, other sims will spawn in to also pet the animals. There will be a caretaker who will make sure to like always be feeding the animals or like cleaning things and stuff like that. You can set up the custom schedule to work with that for sure. Then another really fun idea, if you enjoy building, specifically if you're doing maybe like any bigger challenges, or if you've done bigger challenges like the Ultimate Decades Challenge, you could do a historical reenactment village, like one of those places that is a theme park that you can visit to basically educate yourself about how people used to live back in the day. I feel like something like that could be super fun in The Sims as well. Kind of tied to that would be a Renaissance fair. You could obviously set up like specific costumes for your sims to show up into when you have a Renaissance fair. And you could have like all kinds of markets where people can sell the goods that they've made themselves. You can have like a little stage where people are playing music. You can have like a dance floor where people can dance together. I can definitely see that being super, super cute. Kind of tied to that, a concert venue or a festival grounds would also be super, super cool. I feel like a concert venue would be something that your sims would visit just on the day, and then there would be a role for sims performing, and then you would have a role for a bartender, and you would have a role for your sims or like other audience just viewing the performance. And if you make a festival site, you could even have like 2 or 3 big stages, and then you can have like a camping area, and you can like add food trucks. You can get kind of crazy with this, but I think that could be such a cool thing for your sims to go on like a festival getaway if they're into music, for instance. Kind of tied to a concert venue, I think you could make like a stand-up comedian or a drama club, a place for your sims where they can travel to when they want to do stand-up comedy, and then sims will actually spawn in to listen to their comedy as well. We already talked about the film festival, but kind of tied to that, we have the movie theater. We obviously have like a rabbit hole movie theater in the game, and you can sort of build your own home cinema, but the idea of actually building like a movie theater that your sims can go to with time slot so that the sims that are going there will actually go and watch the movie, I think that would be super awesome. And then lastly, in this category, there is one of my favorite ideas, and that's building like an esports competition arena, which can basically be like a big venue where there will be a bunch of sims that spawn in as audience. There can be a bunch of sims that spawn in as actually participants for the esports arena, and then you can have your sim spawn in either as audience or a participant. And then in the middle, you can have like video games, and they can all play multiplayer video games. It could even be an elimination competition where the sim that has like built the least video gaming skill will get eliminated. And with that, you can actually make it like an esports competition thing. Then our next category is cultural or travel ideas. The first one is a cooking retreat, but specifically abroad. So we already talked about a cooking retreat, but obviously if you want to, you could set up a cooking retreat that is supposed to be, I don't know, like if you plan it in Tartosa, it could be Italy or Greece or something. And then your sim has to actively like travel abroad to learn the cuisine of another culture. I think that could be a really fun thing for storytelling. Next up, we have a monastery stay where your sims can practice meditation, singing, gardening, anything that has to do with like minimalism and sort of recentering yourself and your energy. If you want, you can even download mods to actually have religion into the game if you wanted to, and then that could be a place for your sim to practice religion. Another fun idea would be a jungle nomad camp, like a place where people can practice the archaeology skill that comes with the Jungle Adventure Pack. Like you could even make a custom venue in the world of Selva Dorada for it. Another thing that I'm actually building on my Twitch channel as of recording this video, and maybe the speed build will already be up on my YouTube channel as you're watching this video, but is a functional cruise ship. Like obviously it wouldn't be able to set sail and actually travel, but in the world of Sulani, we're building a big cruise ship with like hotel rooms, and there's going to be all kinds of entertainment, and there's going to be a daily schedule for your sims to follow. Another fun idea could be a seasonal event like a winter Christmas market or a spring farmers market, or I don't know, just anything that has to do with the season. You can put it in your calendar, and then it can be a place for your sims to visit to like pretend to practice seasonal routines or something. something. And then lastly, in the cultural and travel section, we have a vineyard. This could be for something like a wine and crafts getaway or a wine tasting getaway or even a wine making getaway. Your Sims could garden all the ingredients themselves while they're there. They could also make and drink the wine, of course. Then our next category is reality TV. Obviously, with the competition element, it's a very obvious pick to come up with some ideas for reality TV show custom venues or getaways. The first one would be like a gladiator arena. You could use this for any extreme competition. This can either be historical or sci-fi based. Unfortunately, there's no lightsaber fight feature with the custom venues. Otherwise, that would have been so fun. Then another super obvious one would be the reality dating TV show, like, I don't know, maybe like a first dates kind of venue where Sims would go that are all single and then they would have a dinner together, stuff like that. Other things that came to mind were a Hunger Games arena, a cooking show that can be anything from a place where Sims learn how to cook from like a proper elimination challenge, or it can be something like sort of a restaurant check, and then every single time that you're playing in that getaway, it can be like a different restaurant owner or something. You can get quite creative with storytelling here. Things like Squid Game, Survivor Island, Love Island, or even things like The Voice, where Sims would have to like perform and then maybe get eliminated on skill gain in the music skill or the singing skill or something like that. I can definitely see that work. And you can actually have a lot of these things tied into your storytelling, like a place for your Sims to compete when they're trying to become a famous musician, for instance. And then the last category, I had no better name for it, but is real life type venues, aka things that are just useful for your day-to-day life in The Sims or just useful for storytelling. The first one is definitely a wild card, but that would be a prison. Let's say that your Sim is a criminal. You can pretend that they get arrested and they have to spend a couple of nights in prison. You can schedule that as a getaway, and then in the prison, everything would be quite dire. They would actually have most of their focus on either like hanging around in the courtyard, playing basketball with other prisoners, or maybe they work on their fitness skill. And it can be like a very tight regime where they have to wake up super early and, I don't know, be in their room from like maybe 9 p.m. in the evening or something like that, or their room, I'm saying, but their jail cell. But you can get quite creative with this, and it could be a super fun thing to add to your criminal career storytelling. Another one that I 100% want to make for my own save files is like a co-working space or an office building, because at this point we have quite some careers that Sims can do as a freelancer, or like things that Sims can do as a work from home career. And I feel like it would be super cool if your Sims have like a co-working space or an office to go to so that they can be there with other Sims who are also working on similar things. The next option is a library. We obviously have this as an actual existing thing in the game already, but if you build a library with a custom schedule, that way you can actually control way more precisely what Sims are doing when they're visiting that lot. Another one that I really like is a senior center. We already talked about this about like specifically a senior retreat or like an elder retreat, but I can totally see a senior center specifically be a place where elders just gather on a day-to-day basis, where you can also go with your elder to maybe meet other elders or work on specific skills. I feel like one is definitely focused on like the vacation for old people, and this one is more focused on the day-to-day for old people. Another one that I've heard a bunch from people is like a daycare or a preschool. I think you can definitely build this a place where specifically infants and toddlers go to. Then there's going to be other Sims like caretakers to be there to help them take care of their needs. And then your Sim could visit there like a toddler. You could send them to preschool. With the getaway system, you can actually send Sims somewhere and then they will follow the schedule of that day, but you don't have to play with them all day. That way you can more precisely control what they do on preschools. You could even build schools and high schools, but obviously then your Sim would be taking time off from school, which could limit them in progressing in school, because unfortunately you can't actually replace the school or high school lot with a custom venue. But it is actually super fun that your Sims, potentially your toddlers, can go to a preschool or a daycare. You could even host a preschool or a daycare at your home, because if you're the host of a getaway, that way your Sims will actually earn money. So it would be a way for your Sim to technically run a business like a preschool or a daycare business. It would be a bit tedious because you would have to schedule it in your calendar every single time, but you could technically do that and then have that be your job. The upside compared to small businesses and hobbies would be that you can actually set the schedule and the other Sims would participate in your schedule, whereas beforehand, it was actually quite difficult to get the toddlers to eat, for instance, because you couldn't really control them. We've already talked about a monastery retreat, but you could obviously also build a monastery or a convent or a church or a mosque or any other religious building if you then download mods to actually have religion in your game, or if you just use the existing social interactions to have Sims pretend that, for instance, you can use the meditation for a praying one and you can have the singing for maybe like a choir feature. I feel like there's quite some things that you can work around and like kind of use your imagination for, but the idea that you can, with this, sort of build your own religious venue into the game. You can even come up with religions that are specific to the Sims and then build venues for that and then have specific routines or practices tied to it. You can actually get quite creative with this, and I think it's a cool feature to have in game because for a lot of people this is a very important part of their day-to-day life. And then the last idea on this entire list of ideas is the courthouse or the town hall or the city council. This can be a really nice space for Sims to, for instance, vote on the neighborhood action plans that came with Eco Lifestyle. It can also be a place where you have the debate podium. It can be a place where politicians go if you're playing the politician career. But I feel like it's actually a nice idea to have a building like this where if your Sim visits, specific things will take place to actually make it feel like a courthouse. I guess you could also use this space to potentially hold weddings and stuff. That is one thing that I didn't put on this list simply because I haven't properly tested it, so I would feel bad recommending it as an idea and being like, oh, you can do like a custom venue for a wedding. But I definitely want to try that and test it and see if you can have a wedding and actually if it works better than the wedding system to have a wedding with custom venues. But I guess we can add it to this list as another idea. That means that this list, I believe, is a total of 77 ideas, but you could technically add a wedding venue to this list as well. But you could also have those weddings at town hall and then kind of have in the schedule have like a time slot set up for it where Sims will officiate weddings, for instance. Again, not 100% sure if this will work. I'll have to do some testing, but I feel like that concludes the list. Let me know down below what you're most excited for, but also which of the things you have thought of that might not be on this list, because I think it would be super cool if the comments on this specific video become sort of a collaborative space for people to find more ideas for custom venues and getaways, because honestly, the possibilities are almost endless. And with all of that being said, if you like this video, please toss it a cheeky like, leave a comment for engagement, use my creator code to support my videos when buying new Sims packs, and of course subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my content. And with all of that out of the way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye everyone!